Satnam and Namaste. I am Robbie Michelle Short with Moonbeam Yoga, and today I want to teach you some pranayama. Now, prana means life force energy, and yama means control. So if we're trying to control or to manipulate our energy somehow, we use the breath because the breath is the primary portal in which we can invite energy in. So when we're working on the mat using different types of pranayama, each different type of breath work can have a different purpose and intention. So I thought I would teach you a few different ones today and tell you some of the benefits. So one of the first kind of go-to breaths that you'll probably learn on the mat if you ever go to class is diaphragmatic breathing. Now you may have heard of the diaphragm muscle from people who sing. And people who sing have to use their diaphragm in order to really project their voice. So they're not using their nasal type of voice. So the diaphragm muscle is this dome-like muscle at the base of the ribs that expands and contracts. Now, when we're using breath control and we're doing what's called a deep diaphragmatic breath, I often tell people to look at infants or children when they are breathing or when they're sleeping. You can even look at your pets and notice how their belly bellows in and out as they breathe. You may even notice this when you're lying down to take a nap or trying to go to sleep yourself. The tricky part is, as adults, and once we sit up and we get the spine more erect, and especially when we start to move with physical postures, sometimes we can have the tendency to hold the breath or even breathe very shallow. So the deep diaphragmatic breathing helps us to open up our lung capacity. It helps us to calm and cool the nervous system. That movement in the belly can help to keep digestion going in our system. And it can also be a grounding breath. It can drop us out of our head into our heart. It can be very centering, and it can help us to even relax. So if you want to lie down, what I would be inviting you to do is to take your hands and place them onto your abdomen. And as you're breathing in and out, just notice your body's response. Because as you're inhaling, the belly and chest expand and balloon out. And as you breathe out, it should relax and sink back in. Now, I'll tell you, when I was 26 years old and went to my first yoga class and was taught this breath, I was floored because I was breathing the opposite way, which was my signal that I wasn't breathing correctly. When the teacher was asking me to breathe in, I was sucking my breath, or sucking my belly rather, in, and as I was breathing out, it was pooching out. It should be in reverse of that. So part of it is the entrainment in our society to try to keep a slim waist. Part of it is oftentimes when we get like a pair of jeans out of the dryer and they feel like they've shrunken a little bit, we suck the belly in to zip up the pants. But please try to allow the belly and chest to expand as you breathe in, and then to deflate and retract as you breathe out. And eventually, as you're practicing this deep diaphragmatic breathing, you'll even feel your side ribs expand and release, and even your back body balloon out and soften and surrender back down. In fact, I often tell my students when they're in child's pose to do the diaphragmatic breathing through their back body. This breath is really the most important breath, in my opinion, that you will learn from the yogic tradition. But please do not think any of this breath work is isolated or only meant to be practiced on the mat, because this type of breath work is beneficial for anyone at any time. Now, I will say one example. When I was going through some health issues years ago and had to go to Vanderbilt Hospital. And it felt like I was a scientific experiment because they didn't know exactly what was wrong and trying this and that with me. I had to go through one of those machines that kind of looked like a coffin. And you can imagine it was a little bit, stressful. And I had to use my diaphragmatic breathing to stay calm. So this can be really helpful at different points in your life and at different points of the day. The second type of breath that I would like to teach you about is called the Ujjayi breath. Now, the Ujjayi breath is something in the yogic tradition that we invite students to do when they're practicing any type of flow, whether it's vinyasa or ashtanga, even a gentle flow, when you're simply breathing into one position and breathing out to another. Something really simple you could try is inhale, bringing the arms up overhead, and the exhale, bringing hands down to prayer. Or like a cat-cow when you're on your hands and knees, inhaling into the back bend, lifting and opening the chest and throat. Exhale, rounding the back into cat stretch and slurping in through the belly and chest. So with the inhalations in yoga, we're opening, expanding, lengthening. And with the exhalations, we're softening, contracting, or recentering. Now, when you're doing that Ujjayi pranayama, this is actually an audible sounding breath. So it has a sound quality to it. And we use the muscles at the throat to create this sound. Some teachers might refer to this as the Darth Vader breath because it sounds like you're breathing behind a mask. And other people refer to it as the oceanic breath because it can sound like the waves rolling in and out from the sea. We often teach this by holding the hand up in front of the face as if you were going to clear or clean a mirror or window, and you create the sound ha, like this. Feel those muscles that you're using to create that sound, but then you close your lips. So it sounds like this. Hopefully the microphone picked up that sound. That's really important. I actually just filmed this on Zoom and just had to scrap it because you couldn't hear any difference at all because it wasn't picking up the sound. So that sound is important. It can be very meditative. It can give us something to meditate on. It can be very nourishing and nurturing. And I like to call it the song of the soul. If you think about it, the first thing that happens when we are born and birth through the birth canal and enter into space is we breathe in. At the very end of our life, when we're dying, the last thing that we do is breathe out. And that is the ultimate surrender of all when we exit this vehicle of body. So in between, the breath is what sustains our life, and the breath is what can fuel us. So this type of breathing is very invigorating, revitalizing, and energizing, which is one reason it's important for a flow type practice when you have to keep moving. So you might have noticed when I began that breath work, it sounded a little bit like a snore. And you might have noticed I got better with it as it continued, meaning it started to get longer and smoother. And once you take a little bit of time to develop that long, smooth, rhythmic breath, then that's what can carry you through your practice. But this is also a type of breath work that I use when I am personally feeling confronted with something really stressful, or when I'm facing a confrontation with a particular person. Since I want to be cautious that I don't lash out and create harm with my words or actions, sometimes that can be an immediate reset for my mind. To me, it can bring me back to myself. It can bring me back to my heart, so I'm not getting disconnected between my mind and body. So hopefully you gave that a try, and please know that I'm sure you could find longer videos that give you more instruction, that give you a longer time to practice. But this is just a quick video to give you the basics and a quick introduction. Now, if we're trying to manipulate the energy or to control the energy, what pranayama means, and we're using breath work to do it, I've already introduced you to one, the deep diaphragmatic breathing that's calming, relaxing, and stress relieving. This is probably something you do when you're doing restorative or yin yoga. I gave you the example of the Ujjayi pranayama, which is the invigorating breath that you can do for flow practices, or to come back home to yourself, or to ensure that you're maintaining connection, to your heart and anchoring in the now moment. The next two examples I'm going to give to you are a little bit different. The breath of fire is a breath work that can help to increase transformation. It can give you a natural high. One reason you may want to practice a little caution with this type of breath work, but it can also heat the body. Think of the name alone, breath of fire. What we're doing is we're pumping the belly in. Think about a bellow that you use at a fireplace when you're trying to stoke the fire. This type of breath work is trying to stoke our inner fire, not just the inner fire of our digestion, what we like to call Agni in this tradition, but it can also heat our bodies. Sometimes I'll tell students when I'm teaching this type of breath work, since I live in the deep south and sometimes we get these terrible ice storms. Say, for instance, you were having to go to work and it was freezing outside and you might have hit some black ice and you ran off the road. Well, you're going to have to wait and get towed, get back on the road, or you may need to just pause for a moment and turn the car off. If you're getting cold, you can use this breath work to heat yourself up. If you're standing outside for a period of time, maybe you have to stand outside when your children are getting on or off the bus. This could be a good exercise and something that you could do with your children, teaching the breath of fire. Now, with this type of pranayama, you can be sitting upright. And first of all, just take your hands to your abdomen and just try pumping the belly in. Now I'm pumping it in just using the muscles. These are the rectus abdominis muscles. And notice I'm not thrashing my body around. And when you're utilizing the breath work, you put the emphasis on the out breath. And again, this is through the nose. So it looks and sounds like this. Try it with me. Beautiful. Now, obviously, you could kind of change up the rhythm you're doing with that. And hopefully you notice with the emphasis being on the out breath and making that quick, audible, sharp sound through the nose, you'll find your body will naturally inhale, even though that's not where you're putting the emphasis. This is also a great detox because think about this belly pumping in. Just behind the diaphragm muscle is the stomach. So this is a great way to also build the energy up, to get that Kundalini Shakti, that dormant energy at the base of the spine, awakened and moving upward for your benefit. All right, now that we've done a calming breath, an invigorating breath, a heating breath, I want to teach you a cooling breath because again, I live in the deep south where it's very hot and humid in the summer. And we want to be outdoors in the summer, right? We want to be outside. We want to be doing things. And sometimes it can get just too hot, or we may feel overheated. I'm also 49 years old and going through menopause. So I have hot flashes, sometimes during the day, oftentimes through the evening. And this breath work can help us to cool down. It's called Sitali Pranayama. So with this breath work, you're opening your lips, breathing in, breathing out through the nose. All right, now the way it's truly instructed is to open the lips the same way I just showed you, but to curl the tongue. Breathe in through that tunnel of the tongue. Feel that coolness. It's like air conditioning for the body. And then breathe out through the nose. Breathing in through the tongue or lips. Breathing out through the nose. Continue that. Try it out for yourself. All of these have different purposes, different intentions, and different benefits that you'll gain. If you want more detailed information regarding this type of pranayama, keep searching, keep seeking, or just practice this little bit that I gave you today, and I promise you, a little can go a long way. I am Robbie Michelle Short with Moonbeam Yoga. I teach classes here in the Nashville area. I offer wellness and yoga retreats locally, domestically across the United States, as well as internationally around the world. If you want to find out more about me or my offerings, or if you just want to follow along, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook under Moonbeam Yoga. You can also find me on the YouTube under a channel, Moonbeam Yoga. And I also have meditations available through Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify under Moonbeam Meditation. And the last thing that I'm really proud of, me and my friend Allison Ledbetter, she's a psychic and medium. We're both Reiki masters, meditation teachers, and I'm, of course, am a yogi. We have come together to create something called Awakening Soul Truth. During this time of great change and ascension, we have a YouTube channel called Awakening Soul Truth. We also offer retreats and offerings that are available throughout the year. And we would love to encourage you to join us as we all awaken our soul truth. Namaste.